Welcome back, my friends. I'm going to go through some more things for you in this video about quadratic functions. We're going to solve problems with maximums and minimums in class and a little bit in the homework. I want you to try that. I think you'll be able to do it based on what we've talked about maximums and minimums so far. If you're struggling with this concept, bring it to class. We'll talk about it. I'm going to show you in this video how to find the domain and range of a quadratic function. And then that's going to be it for this video. That's going to be enough. So here's something cool. Let's get down to the new notes and I'll show you domain and range. So we're going to talk domain and range of a quadratic function. So just a reminder on what domain and range is really about. The domain, you can think of this as your x values in most cases. This is all possible inputs of your function. For your function. Just a little review because I know it's been a while probably for some of us. And for your range, you can think of your range as all possible outputs. Sorry, if you can hear that, that's my radiator in my house. You guys are going to have to get real comfy listening to all the sounds of my home. Sometimes you'll probably hear my baby crying or my dog barking or my radiator in my ancient apartment. So your range is all of your possible outputs. It's also commonly your y values. And so the domain of every quadratic function is all real numbers, and in interval notation you can write it like this: all the numbers in between negative infinity and positive infinity. That's the domain of every quadratic function because I can put any number I like in for x in my quadratic functions. The range of each quadratic function is different. So if a is greater than 0, the range, so if you have your a is greater than 0, that means you've got a little opening up parabola like that. So then the range is f of negative b divided by 2a, comma, positive infinity. If a is less than 0, the range is, so in other words, if we have this opening downwards, like so, f of negative b over 2a, comma, negative infinity. And that's how we can find the domain and range. I'm going to show you on Desmos a few things that I think will make this make a little bit more sense here. Okay, I'm going to try to show you some stuff here and we will see if that helps, and then I'll do one example. So here is our parabola. Here's our parabola. So I'm going to take off some of these features just so we can only look just at the parabola for us. So this is any old parabola here. When I say our domain is all real numbers, that means that I can plug any number I want to in for x, and I'll be able to solve and get a y value. So here I give us a table for our particular parabola. And in this x column, I can write anything I want. I could write 100, 1,000, I could write 7, I could write 0.03, and I'll still get an answer, an output that's a valid number, that's a real number. Any real number that I plug in for x, I'm going to be able to solve and get a value for y. So that's why I can choose and say that all real numbers are my domain, is because it's possible to substitute anything I like in for x. As long as it's a real number, we'll be okay. All right? That's part of why we have all real numbers here. Now let's talk range. So if domain is your set of x values, range is your set of y values. So if I try to fill in this table and I said I want my y value to be -5, my y value to be -5, there's no way I can do this. Let me show you. Here's y is equal to -5. This line right here. So am I ever going to have this orange parabola touch this black line? No way. Y is never going to be equal to -5. There are some y values that are not a piece of this parabola. Some y values that are not in the range of this parabola. So take a look at our vertex here, my friends, for this parabola. This is the lowest point on the parabola. Remember, our y values are talking about vertical, up and down. This is the lowest point on the parabola. There are no y values below this vertex. So let's go ahead and say y is equal to f of -b divided by 2 times a. This is the lowest point on the parabola, the lowest point of our y values. But if I scroll up, I can scroll up forever and ever and ever if I wanted to. I'm not sure that'd be a great use of our time, but I could. I could do this forever. I could do this forever. My y values go up into infinity, but they start here, right here at this vertex. So this is what happens when a parabola is opening upwards. Let's change it so that it's opening down so we can take a look at what that is. So let's go ahead and I'm going to get rid of this table so we can make a new one. I'm going to change our a value to be negative. Let's say -3.2. So now this parabola is opening down. Opening down. And just like before, when I have my table, I can plug in any x I want. Any x I want, and I'm going to get a y value that goes with it. But there are some y values that don't have an intersection with our parabola. There's some y values, like here, let's try y equals 15. There's no point on our parabola. Here's my parabola. I'm moving this magical point. There's no point on our parabola where y is going to equal -15 or +15. That's never going to happen. The highest value I can get for my parabola is at the vertex. That's the highest value, about 11.725. 11.725. Whew, boy, long day, guys. Sorry. That's the best I can do. That's the highest value in terms of y that I can get. The highest output. The maximum value is that vertex right there. So that's a little bit about domain and range. Hopefully that helps. This is usually a concept students need to take some time thinking about. If you have any questions or if I confused you more, why don't you leave a comment on this video and let me know so that I have something to talk to you guys about in class. I hope this helped. I promised you I would do one example. So let me go ahead and do one example for you. Let's pop back over to Desmos. Or not to Desmos. Let's pop over here. So I hope you guys remember this parabola that we graphed just in the last video. I'm going to tell you the domain and range of this parabola. Right here, I'm going to read it off of the graph. So my domain, I know for all parabolas, my domain is negative infinity to infinity. I don't have to read anything. I just know any x value is okay. Now my range, I know my parabola is opening up. So I'm going to go towards positive infinity. I need a bracket here. Tell me why in the comments. And I'm going to look at my vertex, and I'm going to look at the y value of my vertex. And that's the number that goes right here. Because this is my minimum value. Goes from negative 49 over 4 to positive infinity. I just realized that I made a notational mistake. Oh, I'm so frustrated. All right, instead of making a new video, I'm going to be transparent and show you guys the mistake I made notation-wise and explain to you why that's a mistake. And hopefully that'll help. So go back to the spot in your notes where I talk about the range. This part here. This part here. So there's something that I need to change for you. And it's this part here. If a is less than 0, the range is here. I don't need to change too much, so don't worry. I'm going to write the correct thing in red for you and then tell you what's wrong. What was my mistake and what happened? When you're writing things in interval notation, you go with the smallest value first. You go from smallest to largest. So this should actually be our range. Notice all I'm doing is I'm switching the order of these 2 points. No matter what number this is, negative infinity will be smaller. Negative infinity is the smallest possible thing you could have. So writing it, I should write it in this order. I should write negative infinity f of negative b over 2a. That's how I should write this instead for the range. My apologies, guys. If you wrote this incorrect answer on your homework, if you wrote this, but you had the correct values, you just wrote it in the wrong way, I would say that's minus half a point. You should write it the correct way. So if you guys are grading me for this semester, you can say, Sarah, minus half a point on this video. And you probably have an angry face like this because it's annoying to have to go back and fix your notes. All right, sorry about that, friends. But you know, everybody makes mistakes. And this is my learning opportunity for myself that I need to make sure my notes are really detailed and remind me of the mistakes I always make. This is one of the mistakes I always make so that I don't do it for you guys. So this would be the correct answer. This would be the correct answer. Hopefully you fixed your notes and that's clear. All right, friends, I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay well, and I hope you're having a great day. Little hearts for you.